Also, I don't have access to the polls. Do you? Because I signed in as a user with the, I was having problems with the login.
Apps. Let me check. I have a timer, music, virtual backgrounds, and a group photo. I have no.
Oh no. Okay, well, we'll just skip the polling. That's all. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining. We have Richard Quattrochi back. It was like one of these topics that I just didn't realize the extent of it. I knew that, that vishing was out there, but I think Richard really got us centered on it, and we really want to, as my practice, we really want to incorporate this as part of our practice. So, Richard, maybe some of the talking points today, or one of the talking points could be, how do we present this to an existing client, which maybe not having the Clorox issues, but, the problem is always a problem after it happens, not before it happens, right?
So, Steve, I made you a co-host, so see if you can.
Oh,
Yeah, see if you can
okay.
do your
So
poll.
let me see now. Yes, I can. Oh, great. Okay, fantastic. Um, so let me start with the poll. How's that? I'll just start with it right away, okay? So I think you can all see this. Can you all see this?
Mhm.
Okay, so what are the number of phishing attacks, voice data breaches today?
You're not on share.
Oh, I'm not sharing?
I see
You
it.
can't see?
No, you're
Can you?
sharing. I
I
can see
saw
it.
it.
I can see it.
Yeah, it's there.
Interesting. I don't see it.
I see.
Okay. Well, please vote.
Steve,
Well, John, it's either 1 in 20, 1 in
20,
10, 1 in 5, 1 in 3, or 1 in 2. What do you think, John? I'll ask you
1
for
and 2
you.
what? I don't understand the question, Steve.
Oh, the number of phishing attacks last year, or the percentage. So is it data or is it voice?
Out
Of
of
the
every 20
total?
calls, how many of them was a fish?
Well, out of 20 attacks, well,
Yeah.
out of
Okay.
100% of the attacks, how many, what percentage?
Very, very high.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me end the poll. Thanks, everybody. This is great. And I will share the results. Come on. Here we go. And Zoom's a little bit slow. Come on. Oh, here we go. Okay. And you can see that 1 in 5 was the winner. That is the answer, right, Richard, if I remember?
It's
Richard Quattro.
percent, yes.
1 in 5. Yeah, that's huge when you think about it. It's a market, right? It's almost an industry.
It actually, but I'm going to show you some stuff today. It is an industry, and
Bingo.
the 1 in 5, by the way, that's successful breaches,
Oh,
not just
that's
so
not
that
attempts. Oh, yeah, yeah.
attempts are, nobody can even count those. But the actual the amount of times that a bad actor succeeds in breaching a company's data or getting information from a company using a phishing attack, they
Mhm.
they are successful 20% of the time.
Yeah, and I just had a bad actor the other day. It was actually somebody with a very heavy Spanish accent, which claimed that he was from Verizon, that someone had purchased three, iPhone, what is it, 14s, whatever they are these days, on my account and had to get it corrected. And he says, I'm going to give you a 25% discount, because you've been so nice to me. Thank you. Hung up, no breaches, nothing like that. Um, but it was very interesting because he actually sent me a text through the Verizon default number. So it looked like it was from Verizon.
Mhm.
Okay, so their phone number, they used their phone number, sent me a text with the auth code, etc. Okay, it was just the confirmation code, but I didn't get. Then I get another call yesterday from another gentleman, and he says now he has to bridge me on with Wells Fargo, which that was my hint right there. And I said, well, listen, and I said, I don't know if you're Verizon. And he starts saying, well, my name is Joe so-and-so, and this is my Verizon number is so-and-so. And I said, yeah, so what? I said, I need you to send me an email from Verizon right now. And then he hung up. But then
Good.
interestingly, I did get a query from Verizon Wireless last night from their email. I just have to respond today. So I don't know. Maybe they're finding that these guys are out there attacking and et cetera. So it was very interesting. So let me go back. Let me
Hey, Steve, be very careful with that email that you got because that may be another part of that attack. So just be warned.
yeah, but it came from Verizon Wireless. So what would you think about that bit? Oh, good point.
They can still spoof that email when they send it through. So
Really?
yeah, just be aware that it's a multi-track attack. So
It's amazing how sophisticated they've gotten. So here's the new one, Vishing 2. What percentage of customers will switch to a competitor, Voice CX, just after one bad phone call? Gee, Rich, where did I get this data?
I have a feeling because it's all in my deck here. I'm not going to vote on this one. We're gonna let you guys do the voting. I'm gonna stay out because I know the answers. So
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I thought these were just these were great, statistical questions. So I pulled them out from your presentation. I thought they were very appropriate. So thank you. Okay, so let me end the poll here. Thanks to everybody. And let me present the answer. Come on. Come on already. Well, it's spinning here. It's coming, it's coming. Well, the answers are, holy cow, come on. Oh, here we go. So the answers are, it looks like the winner is 61 to 80%, followed by 10 to 20, 21 to 40, and you can see this now, and then followed by number 3, 41 to 60 and 80. So the real answer is 76%, which was in the number 4 category. Right, Richard, if I remember that number? Yeah. So
That is-
thanks everybody for that. Okay. So let me share my slides, and Richard, again, I'll give you the deck as soon as I'm done, okay?
no worries.
Okay, cool. Okay, so it's just loading.
I was planning on presenting from my computer. Is that okay?
Of course, yeah. Yeah, I'm just doing my introductory slides. That's all, Richard.
No worries. No worries.
Okay, cool. So today is number 260. Again, this is all about vishing and with AI enhancements. By the way, did anybody see the news about the Soros? I think it's Sora 2 from the ChatGPT group, OpenAI. They just introduced this and it mimics real people. And the reporter actually just took her face, side shot, front shot, side shot, described that I want to be riding on a dragon, and 2 minutes later, she was riding on a dragon in a movie. And so there's this whole thing going on with the acting guilds and all that. It's pretty wow. Okay. And it's going to, yeah, it's going to put CGI potentially, who knows what's going to happen to it, but it's big. Okay. So last week, a big thank you to, of course, our friends over at Jabra and Paul. He was excellent, Vern. Thank you so much. He gave us a ton of great information. John Glover said it was one of the best fireside chats he's been on in a long time.
Did I really say that? Yeah,
Yeah, you did.
I heard it, John. Thank you.
I meant it.
Okay, so I'm going to revisit this Ohio thing once again because I got a call yesterday from one of our VAC members who is actually the incumbent vendor for this particular city. I won't share who the city is, but I'll share the state. Okay, so it's the state of Ohio. And so I looked up what's the regulatories, if anything, around, agents, okay? This word called agents, which of course agents are really vendors. They just, they're salespeople for the vendors. Of course, they paint that, picture entirely differently. So the city does not allow vendors to use free agents or independent contractors who are directly paid by the vendor. Ohio state law and municipal codes require vendors to disclose all subcontractors and any potential conflicts of interest and mandates. It goes on. Any vendor attempting to use independent contractors who are not formally disclosed and paid for by the system, i.e. the city or the state, is in violation of the city and state's procurements and ethics rules. So it's a procurement rule, it's an ethics rule, it's a conflict of interest rule. We are hearing that some of these individuals are starting to get paid on the side. So again, I won't reveal who the city is, but I heard from my colleague that the CIO is saying that they're not going to RFP next year, which they really need to, just because of the sheer size of it, and they're going to be selecting a vendor on their own, which is very sketchy. Okay, so I think this CIO really needs to understand what kind of laws he's violating, et cetera. Okay, so just a summary from this AI lookup: any vendor attempting to use independent contractors who are not formally disclosed and paid through the established contractual and payment system will be in violation. Sorry, that's really a repeat. Okay, so anyway, just buyer beware. And I think when you're dealing with any city or state government or any not-for-profit or any healthcare provider that gets money through Medicaid and Medicare, I think they're all, again, if you're getting any kind of funds, from state, city, or federal government, I think all of these ethics rules apply. Okay. And people, frankly, I'll even say it to a prospect if I need to, you are in danger of losing your job and ending your career if you're taking money on the side or if you're using free agents without hiring a consultant and getting advice from free people. So again, it's very interesting. And again, the individual was sharing with me that this applies to all cities and all states in the U.S. So again, it's we have to fight fire with fire, guys. Anyway, we have Rich Quattrokey back, and thank you, Rich, for again spending time with us. This will be great. Dave Clardy, over to you.
Thanks, Steve. Yahoo! I'm glad you shared that with us.
You bet.
I
I'm
love
so sick of them. And by the way, this same individual shared with me that some of the manufacturers have approached him saying they're sick of the agents, they're tired of the agent model. They're not making enough money, and it's just really cutthroat. And it's I heard this a few times at Enterprise Connect. It's a dirty market.
it is.
It
Yeah.
is a very dirty market. Yes.
Yeah.
Glad to see the state of Ohio step up. So
Yeah. Well, I think all states will be stepping up too. I think if you just did a look-see on AI for any of these states, I think you'll find something almost the same. But
awesome.
we have to advise these decision makers that their careers are on the line if they go in certain directions without, listen, if they want to do an RFP, on their own without a consultant, they can, but obviously they really need the expertise to do that. So anyway, back to you, Dave. Sorry, I could talk on and on this.
Yeah. Well, hey, nobody wants to be on the evening news wearing an orange jumpsuit for sure. So it's always a great reminder.
Unless
Well,
they're a Denver football coach. Sorry, Dave.
well, this is true, Fran. This is true. But it's that striped uniform underneath the jumpsuit's a dead giveaway, though. So with that being said, I want to remind all the VAC members today at 1 preceding this beautiful fireside chat, we're going to have a know before you go to the annual conference. If you're going to be participating in VAC night or any of the activities at the conference next week, it would be super important for you to attend this call. Thanks to the SCTC headquarters in Fran, we are recording the call. So in the event that you cannot attend, please drop us a note and we'll be glad to send you the recorded session. But it's super important that you attend the call so you know what to expect when you get to conference next week. We want everyone to be fully engaged with the consultant community and likewise with you as a VAC member. And this is one of the values of attending the annual conference. So back over to you, Steve. Thanks for the airtime today.
Great. Thank you. All right. Mike, over to you. Mike is here, right? I saw him.
Sorry. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great week. Look forward to seeing everybody at the annual conference. I just want to remind all of our consultants that please keep collaborating with the VAC members. If you have opportunities, please let them know about those opportunities so they can justify their membership. And look forward to seeing people at the conference. Exciting. Thanks.
Yeah, very exciting. Yeah, I'm looking forward to having personally a fireside chat format with with Sir Terry Matthews, as well as a conversation fireside chat style with John Arnold and Blair Pleasant, which are giving us the latest and greatest on what's happening in the analyst world. So it should be very exciting. And of course, I can't wait to see the sip tones. So, hey, I'm going to stop my share here, okay, Rich, and give you the microphone, so to speak.
Fantastic. All right, so give me a second here.
Hey, Mark Moed, how are you?
All right.
I'm good, Steve. Thank you.
Good.
You should be seeing my screen right about now.
Yep, we sure can. Thank you.
All right. I'm going to keep this brief today. I usually deliver this presentation in about 20 minutes or so, and then I'd like to keep it, since it's a fireside chat, let's keep it interactive. Feel free to ask questions as we go along. The deck that I'm showing you today, this is an educational deck. I most recently presented this to the FBI. I work very closely with them. I'm part of a group called InfraGard. It's a private public partnership. It's between private industry, the FBI, and we also have CISA involved with that. And our job is to help protect critical infrastructure. And one of the big attack vectors that we are guarding against these days is you saw some of it in the polling, but can anybody tell me, and I'm sure you guys can, what 150-year-old technology or medium is responsible for 1 in 5 data breaches today? Anybody?
Voice?
That would be correct. It's the telephone. And I guess you could do it screaming too, but it's voice. And back, if I remember my history right, the first phone call was a demonstration with Alexander Graham Bell and his assistant Watson, where he asked for help. Come, Watson, can you come help me? The second call, which is not really well known, and you guys should know this since you're in the industry and you're consultants, the second call was a scam call. So just keep that in mind. It's true. And it's as soon as the telephone started being used for good things, like all technologies, there's a dark side to it, and it started being used for scamming people out of money as well. And that was then. Nowadays, though, it's been taken to a whole new level because of organized crime and scale. I've got a picture. It's not in this deck. I think I've got it in the end as a pocket slide, and I'll show you if we have time later. It's a picture of a building in Myanmar where about 500 people come to work every day. They work 3 shifts where they're on the phones and they're making scam calls. And it's everything from things like socially engineered attacks against businesses that will cost hundreds of millions of dollars, to resolve all the way down to pig butchering, where they'll attack individuals. And they know everything you need to know about you. All of your information has been stolen. It's available on the dark web. Every single static verification question that's out there is available for sale. So if somebody is trying to authenticate you and they're asking you your mother's maiden name, that's probably not the best authentication question that's out there. These are very sophisticated attacks. These attackers are using CRM systems like Salesforce, where all of the information that has been stolen about your life is in there. So when they connect to you, they can go ahead and essentially imitate anybody that you are associated with. They can be your broker, they can be your banker. All of that information is out there. And now with deep fakes, they can sound just like your broker or your banker. In fact, the dirty little secret in telecommunications today, or in cybersecurity today, is that telecommunications is the easiest way. The voice phone system is the easiest way to break into your organization because it's simply not guarded. There are no locks on the phone system. If somebody calls, your contact center or your customers, they're going to go ahead and answer the phone because there's nothing in place today to filter those types of calls. Everything else is firewall. Your email system, your Active Directory, all of just about every system that's out there has some type of technical controls surrounding it to keep bad guys out. The phone system, by and large, does not. And so it's a very attractive way of getting into organizations to socially engineer people into giving information they shouldn't be giving. There's a lot of different, there's three main impact zones that are involved when you start talking about voice security. The first, and your clients will be very interested in this, voice security can actually pay for itself. There are very few security technical controls where you can turn around and say, here's a return on investment that you can measure. And I'm going to show you how to do this later on. But you can look at the calls coming in. You can actually look at call detail recording records, retroactively run those through a system, and I'll show you how to do that, that will come back and tell you how many risky calls came into your organization in a given time and whether those calls were high, medium, or low risk. So it impacts employee productivity. Voice security impacts fraud that takes place within organizations. It's something that you would use voice security to mitigate. And also very important to your clients, the customer experience. If customers are waiting in line behind all these auto-dialed calls and they're in long queues, they're going to have a bad customer experience. By the time they do get connected to an agent or to somebody that they've been waiting for, a UC user, for example, that customer is going to be in a bad mood at that point in time because of the amount of time that they've had to wait. These unwanted calls that come in, as I mentioned earlier, 1 in 5 successful data breaches is due to voice phishing. And in this era of deep fakes, all you need is a 3-second recording to clone someone's voice. So we don't have a poll, but how many people on the call right now have their voice on their voicemail? Your voicemail greeting. Okay. All you need is 3 seconds. So I can call your phone, get your voicemail greeting, record that. I now own your voice. And I can go ahead and use that to scam anybody and essentially impersonate you.
So let me ask you, Rich, that brings up a good comment. What about podcasts? Anything else that we're involved with on the public eye? You know, LinkedIn, any kind of recordings, you know, that's in the public?
Every single public domain recording, whether you're on TikTok, whether you're on LinkedIn, if you did a video, this recording that we have right now, everybody that's talking on this call and on this recording can be used to go ahead and clone their voices. And by the way, the more time that you have with the voice over 3 seconds, the better the quality of the deep fake. If I get 20 seconds, if I can get a minute, I own you at that point.
Right.
I'll have every vocal inflection down, the whole 9 yards. And all of these tools are available, some of them for free. And many of them, some of the really good ones are available on the dark web, but you don't even have to go there. You can get a lot of these tools open source and free. So it's really important to understand you want to minimize your voice footprint, but that's impossible. Every single person here on this call, I am sure, has got some type of recording that's out there, a webinar, something that people can access, and your voice and your face can also be cloned as well. So any type of video can be used to go ahead and create a deep fake that is very, very believable. And if you don't believe me, you might want to believe Stephanie Carruthers. She's with IBM. She's their lead hacker. She's, believe it or not, that's her title, Chief People Hacker. I've seen her in person. She goes to DEF CON every year, and she'll get into a booth and they will call up help desks, and she will socially engineer a company's help desk, and 100% of the time, 100% of the time she succeeds. These are not staged. She's calling telephone numbers. They'll pick a number from somebody in the crowd. She'll call in. She'll socially engineer them. She'll get the person on the other end to give up credentials, reset passwords, even multi-factor authentication gets reset. It's the same scam. I've lost my phone. She'll go ahead and use a telephone number that looks legitimate. It's spoofed, so it's call is spoofed. The voice is spoofed. She'll sound just like an employee, and 100% of the time, they are able to go ahead and get anybody at a help desk to give up information that will enable the social engineer to go ahead and hack that organization. And if you don't believe me, just watch the news. Voice phishing has been all over the news. Recently, Clorox was presented as a great example. This cost the Clorox organization over $356 million, and the price tag is actually moving up in this case. This was again a socially engineered attack, just like Ms. Carruthers uses. They hit the help desk at Clorox, and they were able to breach the Clorox Corporation, and there's been over $356 million in damages. And
So-
it's not.
So, Rich, you don't have any details on that, do you, by chance? Like Target was very specific a couple of years ago where they got into it was a data breach, but it got into a refrigeration unit or something, and then expanded into their network, and and took that down.
Yeah, this breach was, and I can send you articles on this. It
Okay.
was breach into Clorox's help desk, which, by the way, was subcontracted, just so you know. So it wasn't it was the trying to remember the name of their subcontractor, but the subcontractor that was handling their help desk was the third party that's supposed to be an expert in this, was the ones that were actually breached. And I can send you an article on it that will give you the details.
Okay, cool. Great. Thank you.
And right now, vishing tempo is up. It's up over 442%. And that's according to CrowdStrike. It was actually in their report this year, a letter from their chairman. And if you look at a timeline going back to 2021, the attacks have been increasing in frequency to the point where not only are there more and more attacks every day, and the attacks are being driven by the fact that they're just so successful, but the dollar amounts, if you look at the right side of this chart and you look at 2023 and to the right, every single attack that I have up here is well over $100 million in cost.
Wow.
To each of these companies.
Wow.
To give you perspective, the average breach in the United States for businesses is $10 million. So if you hack the local library, okay, you're going to get 5 million from the library board, but the average is 10 million, but it's going up. So the bigger your client, and the more regulatory exposure they have for healthcare, insurance, et cetera, the larger the dollar losses are going to be. Most recently, and you may have seen this in the news, they've been hitting airlines. So Qantas, WestJet, Hawaiian Airlines got hit. Retailers have been hit, Marks and Spencer, Harrods, and then insurance companies, Aflac, Erie in Philadelphia. That's all this year. And those were all 100 million plus breaches. So the costs are going up tremendously, and this opens up a really good opportunity for the consultants that are here on at the fireside chat for you to talk to your clients about this, because this is a huge exposure they have. Remember those 3 impact areas that I talked about? This one, cybersecurity, should be top of mind, but also that productivity and customer experience are areas that you can consult on with your customer to make their businesses more productive, to make it.
So Richard, when you say CX, you're talking specifically about contact center, or?
It's any customer experience, whether I'm talking to the contact center,
Uh-huh.
the help desk, or another UC user. So I might be calling in, like, for example, Mutari doesn't have a contact center, but I've got customer service. I've got people
Yeah.
that are answer the phone. They
Sure.
and that's all part of that customer experience. You want to make sure that whatever aspect of the organization that you're talking to, whatever department it is, that you've got some type of security that's in the background working, that is not getting in the way of the customer experience. And I'll talk about that in just does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, only because the CC contact center industry is starting to rename itself the CX industry. So that's the only reason why I brought it up.
Oh, it is. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about it. And we work with, this is not supposed to be a sales pitch, but we work with every UCaaS and CCaaS provider out there. So we've got interfaces, and I'll get into some of that towards the end. But this is not supposed to be a sales pitch. What I'm trying to do is educate you on the actual scope of the problem. And on the employee productivity side, if you implement the right type of voice security solution, you're going to get at least a 300% ROI. And that assumes that there's just a 2-minute distraction per unwanted phone call that comes to the organization.
I mean, I can tell you between the 2 calls that I mentioned earlier that I had in the last 2 days, that was at least 10 minutes. So. And a total nuisance to my time because it was totally off track from what I was doing. So yeah.
Yep. If you're talking to a scammer, you're not talking to your clients. You're not doing the job. And so having those calls dropped or diverted or something other than bothering an employee's productivity, you're going to go ahead and see a very rapid return on investment for any type of system that can automatically do this.
Hey, Richard, this is Chuck. I know you wanted interactive, so I'm interacting here. I want to make sure I'm clear. That last slide actually is going to be very key to a project I'm working on. What percentage? So if I were to go to a client and say, we're going to put in a voice firewall and get rid of unwanted calls, what percentage of calls are we going to filter out? Or did I miss that in a previous slide?
I haven't gotten there, but the answer is 10% is the average.
Okay.
1 out of 10 calls coming into an organization are typically unwanted. And I'm gonna when I get towards the end, I'm gonna show you a voice security assessment that will measure this and how you can work with your clients to measure their risks and exactly what percentage they're getting of unwanted calls, and how they can do that just with CDR information. They have to invest a penny. And I'll show you how to do that.
So, okay, and when you do, perhaps you can speak to, if I'm a federal agency and I've got to take calls from, the public with valid concerns, how do I make sure I'm not weeding out legitimate callers? So hopefully you'll address that as well.
You know what? I'll address it right now because it's an excellent question, and since you've asked it, I'll go ahead and answer it. If you have the right type of system, what the system, a voice security system, it will do is it looks at the metadata, the SIP header information or API information, depending on what the interface is, for the call that's coming in before it rings. And what it will do is it will, within 100 milliseconds, and I'll show you this with a slide later, decide whether or not this is a risky call and how risky is it. And then based on the organization, in this case, let's say it's a government agency, let's say it's the Social Security Administration or the IRS, doesn't matter. They have to answer these calls from the public. So if a call comes in and it's high risk, it's a spoofed call, it's likely a nefarious call because we can go ahead and actually rate the risk of the call. Rather than giving that to the rookie agent and having them answer it, divert that call. You can send it to voicemail, or you can send it to a higher call queue where people are highly trained in fraud detection, and they know that if their phone rings, it's likely a fraud call. So they're gonna go ahead and go out of their way to make sure that this is a suspect call. They're going to want to go ahead and use every authentication method that they can and ensure that they're not giving out information that shouldn't be given out.
And this service is provided by Mutare or someone like Mutare?
Yes, I'm trying not to make this a sales pitch, but yes.
No. I'm clear on that. This is not a sales pitch. That's good
Yeah.
information. So the
Yes.
ROI, we need to look at what's the cost to filter all this out. I mean, I can see the efficiency, et cetera, et cetera. We have to measure that against, is it the charge per call or, the pricing model? So that'd have to be ferreted out as part of a real ROI model.
Yes, and that's exactly what and when I get to the end here, I'll show you how we go ahead and do that. And the way that the pricing works out, it's about a 300% ROI on average for most organizations. Now, some organizations will see, maybe 107%. Other organizations will see 500%. It just depends on the extent of their problem. So I'm going to move on real quick and talk about some of the metrics when it comes to CX. We talked about this earlier, so I'm not going to read all these, but it just takes one bad call for consumers to go ahead and have enough reason to switch to someone else. And so ensuring that their calls get through, they're frictionless, that's very important. Any voice security system that you implement has to have the least amount of friction possible. And if there is friction, that friction should be poised, should be a benefit to the caller. So for example, let's say you suspect that the call is a robocall. Send the call to a voice captcha, and the voice captcha would have an announcement that says, hey, thanks for calling XYZ Corporation. For your added security, please enter 459 now. So if I'm calling, let's say Charles Schwab is my broker, and I'm calling Charles Schwab, and my call looks like it's a spoofed phone call, and they send me the captcha, I'm going to feel really good as a legitimate caller to hear that for my added security, they're asking me to punch this in. So instead of it being friction and a pain in the butt, it's now, oh, this is my financial institution and they're protecting me. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So understanding the vector real quick. Almost every time that voice phishing is used to socially engineer someone, there's these elements that are in common. There's always an immediacy to it. So, hey, you just bought a bunch of telephones from us, or your account has been flagged for fraud. We need you to move money out of your account into another account. And the person calling may be impersonating the FBI. They may be impersonating your bank. But they're looking to create a sense of urgency, and they're looking to scare you into doing something that you normally wouldn't do. That makes sense?
All right, come on, put some.
And as mentioned earlier, don't click on that email. A lot of these attacks are now hybrid attacks. So in addition to the phone call, oftentimes the telephone call will be preceded by an email that has the scam set up in it. They won't have a hyperlink in this email. They'll have a phone number sometimes in the email, so that the email will come from your bank and it'll have a telephone number for you to call, them as opposed to them calling you, and use that as the attack vector. So now you're dialing the number that was in the email. This is called a TOAD attack, telephone-oriented attack delivery, and it's very effective. If you don't call them, they'll wind up calling you. You've already received the email, which sort of primed the pump that there's an issue with an account or whatever, and they're going to go ahead and use that voice channel to get a hold of you and to take advantage of your good nature, if you will. The information that they're going to use, as I mentioned, it's all out there on the dark web. It's for sale. There have been so many breaches over the years that everything is out there, your name, your social security number, your address. They've got everything there is to know about you. And if you're on social media, they have more than they need to go ahead and hack you, because you have now shared with them personal information from your feeds and all the rest of it that they're going to go ahead and use to manipulate their victims. And it's almost impossible sometimes to tell the difference between a scammer and a legitimate call that's coming in.
Hey, Richard, what are they doing about other employee engagement on these calls? Because I know we focus a lot on the external client, but a lot of times it's the internal employee that they're actually using as a phishing opportunity.
Absolutely. And one of the things that a good voice security system will be able to distinguish between an actual internal call and an external call that is spoofing one of your phone numbers. So there's two types of insider. There's two types of scams that go on. One is you've got a third party that is imitating impersonating one of your employees. The second is you actually have an insider that's doing this, and that's really difficult to stop, because now you've got somebody that's inside your organization that's perpetrating the crime. That's difficult to do, but the situation where you've got an external person that is spoofing one of your phone numbers, that can be stopped through metadata, because you can see that the metadata will show that this is a spoofed call. And one other thing that you can do, if your telephone system allows you to do this, is you can go ahead and require station-to-station calls be dialed internally and not go out to the public switch network and come back in. That prevents any spoof call from getting into your network to begin with. Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely. What we're seeing is a lot of organizations are forgetting to do the internal side, right? They're focused on the external client, and where we're seeing a lot of the attacks here locally are actually our internal call groups. It's not our external call groups.
Right, but they're calling externally, and they're
That's right.
spoofing the phone number. So that's something that, as a consultant, you can really help. Hey guys, look, we need to configure your PBX properly so that station-to-station calls don't hairpin out and come back in. So if you're working at all with publicly traded companies, this is important to understand, that the SEC now has rules in place that every publicly traded organization has to take reasonable measures to bolster their cybersecurity and put in safeguards in place to stop attacks that are foreseeable. Given that 1 in 5 successful breaches comes to the phone, it is no longer reasonable or unreasonable, if you will, not to have it's a double negative, not to have some type of voice security system in place. And it's really important to understand this, because training is not enough. If you remember back to that slide that I showed you, that quote from IBM, they're able to use voice phishing and succeed 100% of the time. So this is a really insidious methodology to go ahead and use. And if your client is publicly traded, this is something that they might have to put into place, because if they don't and they're hacked and the hack is successful, costs them $365 million, the shareholder lawsuit is going to be off the charts because they didn't take reasonable precautions, and training alone is not reasonable. The social media, I already mentioned this, and the dark web have kind of come together to really conspire against most organizations that are out there. I can now, not me, but the bad guys can now pretty much imitate you and take over your entire persona. And they could pretend to be the CEO of your organization. They can be somebody with that's part of the power base within your company, imitate them, and get the person on the other end of the line to do something that they normally wouldn't do. And all of that information, as I mentioned, is out there. And tasks that used to take literally weeks to come up with, you can now do in just a few minutes. To create a deep fake that is very, very believable.
So Rich, who are the best people to talk to on the customer side about this?
November election. Voting this Tuesday only
Hold on a
enables
second.
the
Sorry about that.
Republicans in their quest to reelect Donald Trump again.
Okay, so I just played for you.
That sounds like a plea from Joe Biden, except that it.
Okay, so this actually happened. This was part of the primary that took place. I want to say it was in Maine. I could have the state wrong. But a consulting group, not a legitimate consulting group like you guys, but a consulting group, political consulting group, went ahead and ran a campaign using Joe Biden's voice and telling registered Democratic voters not to come out to the primary. And that was the recording that I just played. And it was quite effective. A lot of people got this phone call and they said, okay, I'm not gonna go out and vote in the primary. Scammers can go ahead and use these tools in a way that hasn't been around before. Deep fakes, deep fake voices have been around for at least 3 years. But the depth and the scope of what they can do now is by far, in a way, so believable that anybody can get scammed. I'm an expert on this. I'm certified. I've got several certifications. And the other day we were playing around. I didn't know that I was the victim. I thought I was not going to be the victim in this particular case. And they got me to do some things that I honestly shouldn't have done, and given away some information. It was part of a penetration test that was being done, and I fell for it. And, shame on me. I should have been all over it. But the tools are so good now. I thought that I was actually talking to the president of my company.
Wow.
It was shot. Everything was perfect. I mean, the vocal inflections, everything, even some of the stuff that would have normally seemed weird. He was calling me on his cell phone. He said he had a bad connection. So, they give him okay, it's the bad connection. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Like there were some pregnant pauses that shouldn't have been there, but it was because of the phone connection, not because of the deep fake they had to go ahead and type something in, and so there was a pause.
Wow.
It's really insidious. But
Rich, let me ask you, who are the best people customer-wise to approach on this? Is it a head of security? Is it a director? Because, voice is a typical separate reporting structure, right? Voice is works through the telecom folks under IT. And of course, you got the data folks who are, on security. And security not always owns, right, the voice side. So, I'm sure you see all that. So how do we, if we're approaching a customer or a client, what should we do?
Sure. So there are several different places that you can approach the customer. We've been very successful because of our history by going through telecom and working through the spam angle, stopping the unwanted calls that are clogging things up, and impacting productivity.
Thank you, Bill. Yeah. Okay,
And
keep going.
the second area is cybersecurity, and we do a lot with cybersecurity. They typically will have more budget than telecom and IT does, and they have the primary responsibility for stopping these types of attacks. And so you'll see telecom and cybersecurity oftentimes come together now, where before they
Yeah.
were completely siloed,
Right,
didn't
right.
talk to each other, probably hated each other, but now they're coming together, and you can come either through telecom, through cyber, bring them together. You can also come through corporate governance. So a lot of organizations now, if they've got a board of directors, the governance team will get together. If there's a regulatory issue, they can play a large role in this as well, especially in healthcare. So as you go into healthcare and finance, governance is another place you can come into. So you can talk to the chief compliance officer as well. So there's three different.
So before we end, I know that, you offered a free tool for us last time. Maybe you can get to that slide too. I think that's important as we conclude here.
And I'm on it.
Good.
Okay. So what's next? Assess and mitigate. This is what we typically will encourage folks to do. You can do this with your customers. This is free. There's no charge to go ahead and do this. All we need is some CDR records. Typically 30 days is enough. We will take that and we will bounce it off of, we happen to have a system that has 5 layers. One of the layers is our proprietary dynamic database. We'll take those CDR records, we'll bounce it off this database, and we'll take a look at the incoming calls and show you which ones are risky. Typically, it's about 10% of the calls, and we'll actually break it down into high, medium, and low risk. So we'll take the calls that come through in the CDR sample, we'll annualize it for you, and then we will show you of the calls that came in, the unwanted calls, what percentage of those calls were high, medium, and low risk, and what that translates to in terms of lost productivity hours and FTEs. We'll also show you the impact zones. Remember, I talked about productivity. This happens to be a healthcare provider. So this is customized to show the patient experience, and then risk management and security. And then we'll go through and tell them exactly what we found. So we'll listen to recordings that are in honeypots for some of these numbers. So we'll say, hey, look, you're being hit by the Google scam, you're being hit by the Social Security scam, whatever it is, the scam du jour. We'll actually show them not only what percentage of their calls were high risk, but we'll characterize what types of calls we heard in the honeypot recordings that we have. We've got massive honeypots. So when a telephone number comes up and is exposed through the system, we can go back and listen to the call. And we can even give the customer, your client, they can listen to the honeypot recordings too. We're not hiding anything. Everything is up front.
That's great. Well, Rich, thanks again. This has been great. We're just 1 hour over, but this is fabulous stuff. And I think it's an area that we can expand on. It's a talking point when we have a lunch or a sales call with a client, that it is a hot area, and it can create, I think, a lot of consulting business for us. So and for you as a fellow VAC member. So thank you so much again for doing this. We really appreciate your time here today, and we'll see everybody at the conference, and Rich will be in touch. Okay. Thank you again.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate the time today.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.